Florence, and welcome back to another Friday Night Spotlight brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. I'll be honest with you, I've lost track of what week we're in with the whole, bigger schools starting just last week and small schools, it seems like they've been going on forever. So just know, hey, we're still in full swing here. And our game of the week this week is between two unusual opponents. This is a rarity for us, not just this game, but we have two more going on this week between our 4A and 3A conferences. And for game of the week, that is going to be Florence traveling to Vista Grande. David, what are you expecting in this game?
Well, first of all, to help you out, it's week 4, everyone. So to make sure you know that it's week 4, we still got more football coming at you, and it's going to be a good game this year. This week, I mean, with Florence and Vista Grande right now. Florence has been on a pretty good run. Their last week's game didn't be able to go for them because the other team had to forfeit, unfortunately. But that still counts as a win for them. So they're technically 3-0 on the year, and they're looking pretty solid. And for the main reason why they're looking so good is Josh Jackson. He's off to an incredible start to his junior year. He has 258 yards with 5 touchdowns. So look for him to be a huge piece to the game on Friday. I think they're going to look to try to get him the ball as much as possible and him be a huge benefactor for them and be that guy they need to in that offense. So they look solid, but Vista Grande, their first game didn't go all they wanted to. They lost 41-0 against Marcos Deniza up in Flagstaff. And the thing that I want to talk about them is that they're kind of already a little bit off track, I would say, because they have to, not only did they lose a day of rest having to play on Saturday instead of playing on Friday, they also had to go way on the road and play in Flagstaff, so that could also have an effect on them. So I don't know what to expect from them, honestly, but I think they still have some good pieces that can put together a solid performance, but I want to see how they respond to not only a tough loss, but also the circumstances of that tough loss, being losing a day of rest and also being way up in Flagstaff and having to go on the road that far. So I think they, like I said, still have a good chance here. But I like Florence right now. I like the run that they're on. I like their offense, and I think they have a good chance to come out here victorious. So I'm going to take them. I like the Gophers in this one.
Alright, so for me, this is a bit of a head scratcher. David mentioned Florence is 3-0. However, we got to look at these 3 games for them. They started off, they got a last-second win against a very tough opponent in Parker, but then their next game was against Tucson Palo Verde. They completely blew out the Titans. However, the Titans hadn't played an actual varsity game in like 3 years. This was before COVID happened. And then last week, like David mentioned, they had the forfeit against Veritas Prep. So this is really going to be Florence's first opponent since that season opener against Parker. And then for Vista Grande, I was there at that game on Saturday, and honestly, there's not much good I can say about this team, if really anything. They just seemed unprepared. They struggled with their offense, moving the ball big time, and then just the play calling. Guys didn't seem to know where to be at or what was being called, and it was just a big mess, honestly. Additionally, their star running back, Fernando Moya, just a sophomore, he had to leave the game early in the 4th quarter. It is unknown right now whether he'll be available on Friday, and if he is, how effective he's going to be, how healthy he's going to be. So this is a big game for the Spartans. Talking to Coach Roberts last year, John Roberts, they had this whole roller coaster of a season. They would blow out teams and then get blown out the next. Maybe that's the same case this time around. Hey, they got blown out on Saturday, they'll bounce back on Friday. But you really don't know with this team, given from what I saw on Saturday. David, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Florence's schedule as of late so far. Yes, they're on paper they're 3-0, but they've had pretty good. They had the forfeit win, so that was an automatic win for them. And then as well as their last game they played was a blowout. So like you said, that first game was really just a big test for them. But this is also going to be a huge test as well. So I'd like to see how they respond, and I think they still have the chops to do it. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if Vista Grande can also bounce back as well after having that tough loss last week.
Yeah, another thing I got to point out about Vista Grande, offensively, they only had 70 total yards of offense in the whole game. You can't really win that game, so I'm thinking they're going to come out with a bit of a spark, but it's going to be up to them to see if they can maintain it and come out with a win this week. David, what other game do you have your eye on?
Yeah, my pick is another Pinal County matchup. We got Combs taking on Coolidge, and Combs had a pretty decent first game. They went up against Phoenix St. Mary's, who was a playoff team last year and a really good team, and they battled hard. They were up for the first half. They went to the half tied at a score of 8-8, and then things kind of got out of hand. They were they were getting down on themselves, but they had multiple opportunities to come back and score, and they were a touchdown away from winning the game, but then things just kind of unraveled. And I think that the cause of that is just some of the turnover from the new coach out there. I think they still I think him and as well as the quarterback Tanner Hale are still trying to get on a good rhythm together and find good chemistry. So I still like this team really well, and I think Tanner Hale and Hunter Clare are one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the county. Hale is a great guy both with his arms and his legs, and Clare just goes up and can catch anything. He has one of the best hands I've ever seen, so I really like that pair there, and I think it's on them to for both the quarterback and the coaching staff to kind of get on the same page. Hale threw 4 interceptions last week, and that's not a recipe for winning. So I think they need to kind of get on that right page and figure out what they want to do and how they want to attack on the offensive side. And then for Coolidge, they've been really a pretty good team. Ethan Ramirez has come over as quarterback and has taken over until basically because we're still kind of unsure where Gianni is at this point with his suspension. We're going to have to wait for that with the AIA rules. But this team still looks really good. They picked up a good win against Santa Cruz last week, and they've been riding high ever since that first week loss. They're 2-1 right now, and I really like what they're doing. And a good guy you want to talk about is Javante Wall. He's a good running back for them. He's got 335 yards and 4 touchdowns on the season so far. A good passing game mixed with a good running game is a really good offense, and I like them again in this one. I'm taking Coolidge to win, and I think Combs just has a little bit more work to do, but they're on the right track here.
All right, and my game to watch is going to be Sequoia Pathway traveling down to Wilcox. Both teams are 2-0 so far, and this is a pretty big game for both of them, kind of to see where they're at. Wilcox, a strong running game, much like Sequoia Pathway. For the Cowboys, they rely heavily on Aiden Fuentes and Christian Prado, both of them over 300 rushing yards. Fuentes has 7 touchdowns and Prado has 6. They're also the top tacklers for the Cowboys. And then for Sequoia Pathway, a big game last week for running back Norian Banks. Kind of weird to say running back before his name because he is a big defensive guy along with his brother Kyrese. However, head coach Donnie Margram said, hey, he's going to be looking for these guys to also get the job done on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen that Norian can do that based off of last week. Freshman quarterback Vinny Sanchez, he hasn't had a lot of opportunity to throw the ball. He hasn't really needed to with the Pumas being 2-0. Looking for this game, it's going to come down to whichever team can get that critical stop. We know that both of them are capable of running the ball. It's just going to come down to who can slow down the other team. That pretty much does it. Real quickly, we're going to throw up our picks for this week, and that will do it for another episode of Friday Night Spotlight. Be sure to check out Pinal Central over the weekend to see how our local teams do, and be sure to check us out next week.